Back up to the Empire of the Living, our next stop is a complex of museums and monuments known as Les Invalides. It's dedicated particularly to the military history of France. Beneath the grand dome, one just lofty enough for the hubris of the man resting thereunder, we find the tomb of Napoleon Bonaparte. He was one of the great military leaders during the French Revolution, and by the age of 26 was commanding the French army in battles all across Europe and Egypt. Upon returning to Paris in 1799, he seized power through a coup d'etat and crowned himself emperor in 1804. He would reign as emperor over much of Europe for the next 10 years, then briefly again in 1815, before his empire fell and he abdicated the throne. His legacy is a mixed one. He's recognized as one of the great commanders in history, and he did much good in rebuilding France after the wars, instituting higher education, championing the arts and science, founding the first central bank in France, and establishing a fair and modern legal system that espoused equality before the law. But he was also a despot, whose megalomaniacal warmongering led to the deaths of millions of Europeans. He forced his way into power and used propaganda and strict censorship to legitimize his regime. After a crushing defeat at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, the British exiled him to the remote island of St. Helena, where he died in 1821 at the age of 51. He was originally buried on St. Helena, but before his death, Napoleon had expressed a desire to be buried on the banks of the Seine in Paris. In 1840, King Louis Philip I obtained permission from the British government to return Napoleon's body to Paris. He was exhumed, his casket opened to ensure it still contained the former emperor. He was finally entombed in this red quartzite sarcophagus in 1861. In 2021, on the bicentenary of his death, a replica of the skeleton of his favorite horse, Marengo, was hung from the cupola above and floats like a phantom over his tomb.